What's going on, my broskies? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And today we're going to go ahead and talk about the brand new Shanks Super Sugo-Fest. And we're going to be just going over each part of the Sugo-Fest. And always people are going to ask, what part of the Sugo-Fest should I be pulling for? And that's exactly what this video is aiming to do. Shout out to my man Captain Pappy for developing this infographic. And I decided, having no webcam is probably going to be easier to show you guys everything about this banner. So, in terms of structure, it's the exact same structure as the Uta Sugo-Fest. We had part 1 where every legend is available, but then there's like 20 legends which are considered quote-unquote rate boosted, which are these ones right here we'll talk about in just a moment. And then you got part 2 and part 3 where you have more restrictive characters. There's only 30 characters, 30 legends you can pull in each part, but of course the rates will be better. So if you specifically want one unit and that character is boosted on part 2 or part 3, then you want to go on that part to get that unit. So if you only want to get Shanks, wait for part 2. If you only want Beckman, go for part 3. But of course, you've got some other characters along the way. So let's go ahead and start talking about it. We'll start off with part 1, which, as we said, every single legend is available. And of course, there's going to be a pool of like 20 legends, which are going to have a higher rate than all of the others. And just note that, like the Uta Sugo-Fest, Shanks, Beckman, and Lucky Roux are going to have halved rates compared to the rest of the other Sugo-Fest exclusives. So it's going to be ultimately harder to pull these two brand new legends on part 1. So depending on your situation, if you only want one of them, wait for their desired part. But as for the characters that are actually available to be pulled, obviously the 2 new legends are the main goal for most people. You've got Black Maria as well. Now, personally, I don't have her yet. She's like the only legend from normal pulls that I don't have. So part 1 is going to be pretty good for me. Can't wait for that. And of course, we will be live streaming for when this Sugo-Fest part goes live. We've obviously got Trafalgar Law. He is so good. I almost consider him to be a Super Sugo-Fest exclusive in terms of how good he is. Also great synergy with the Shanks. So if you want to get him, he's available here too. Brook is a little underwhelming. Kinemon and Denjiro don't see too much play. Katakuri underwhelming. Boa Hancock still got a very good utility special. Ulti page 1 are usable. King is very good. Ace versus Akainu very good. Shirahoshi Manchiri V2 also very good. Sugar, a little underpowered nowadays, especially with the introduction of the Super Tandem mechanic. Komurosaki with her 6+ is okay. Tesoro with his level limit break. Zephyr with the level limit break. Lucci could get one in the future. We've got Law who could get one in the future. And both Marco and V1 Kuzan both have level limit breaks. Marco, I have him at level 5, and he's just okay. Kuzan at level 5, I think, is honestly very good. But just across the board, like, you've got some really good top-end talent with Shanks, Beckman, Lucky Roux, and then obviously you've got Law. I think those 3 in particular are the huge highlights here. But remember that the rates to get these characters are typically a lot lower compared to the counterparts of part 2 and part 3. Then you've got Super Sugo-Fest, and that's another thing about part 1 that a lot of people need to know, is that every single Super Sugo-Fest exclusive is pullable on part 1. However, they do have extremely low rate because they're not considered rate boosted. So you got, these are the only rate boosted ones which have a pretty decent chance of hitting, and then you've got the Super Sugo-Fest. All of them are available, but their rates are terrible. So don't go into part 1 expecting to pull Super Sugo-Fest exclusives, but just note that they are going to be available. And then you have this one right here. You've got a limited step. Now, I think it was on multi 20, or no, multi 20 gives you a guaranteed Super Sugo-Fest. If you go to the 30th multi of part 1, you're guaranteed to get one of these 3. So because of the fact that the Super Sugo-Fest exclusives are not rate boosted, Shanks will have the highest chance to land on part 1, but it's not guaranteed. You can still hit one of these other 3. All 3 of these are very good, by the way. Very, very strong. Tier 0 minimum for all 3 of these units. All 4 of these units, should I say. So part 1, look, I can't really suggest many people to pull on part 1 just due to the fact that, no characters are really guaranteed. The steps are okay. They seem exciting, at least for the first like 5 or 6 steps. But after that point, you're really just rolling the dice and really hoping you hit what you want. And honestly, I think it's probably not a wise idea to go for this. But we can have a look at part 2. And this is where Shanks is going to be a guaranteed unit on the 30th multi. So pretty deep to get him, but he is guaranteed nonetheless. Now, as for the characters that you can only pull on part 2 of the Sugo-Fest, let's have a look at this one. Shanks, obviously very good. Dex Luffy, phenomenal. Whitebeard vs. Roger, one of the top 5 best legends in the game. Odin, he's actually still pretty good. Funnily enough, if you're a new player, you actually get this guy guaranteed after logging in for 15 days. So that's kind of funny that he's available here. You've got Ulti as well. She is a little underwhelming in my eyes. I'm not really a big fan of her. Sasaki is very good. Kid is very good. Marco's very good. Odin's very good. Dogstorm's very good. Robin Jinbei, a very nice unit to have. Lucy is solid. Vivi is solid. Bonnie is solid. Kaido, a little underpowered these days. And then we start getting towards the end where the characters just aren't, you know, desirable enough. Shanks crew still okay. Nami Robin still alright. Sober Mask a little underpowered. Cracker with his 6+ is usable. Carrot with her 6+ is okay. Snake Man, of course. And then you got some characters down the bottom here who have their level limit break. Boa is fine. Dofi's okay. Bato's underwhelming. And then Luffy's pretty good for a free spirit team. But honestly, part 2 looks really good. There's lots of good units here. Like, essentially, the top 15 units, just about, are, like, all amazing. So, I really don't think there's a... Like, this is not a bad part of Sugo-Fest. Like, this is really solid. You got some great legends here. If you're missing a majority of this top half of this list, then part 2 is easily where you should be spending your rainbow gems. Now, I know that Uta has been out recently and people may not have her at this current point in time and are still trying to invest gems into her banner. So I can understand if people don't have gems to pull here, but if you do have gems to pull and you are aiming to pull, part 2 seems very, very solid. And I don't think you're going to have a bad time pulling here, as I said, especially if you don't have a lot of these top end characters on this list. Then, of course, you've got the limited step, which is literally the best units on the banner, which is great, you know. There's hardly a bad unit in this pool here, which is great. And then the super limited step, I don't know how often the super limited steps actually appear. So according to the list, it looks like that the 10th and the 20th multi guarantees you one of these 8 characters. So that is honestly not a bad thing either. So it's pretty accessible to, you know, potentially get some good stuff here. And I mean, as I said, if you're missing a lot of the top end units here, very, very good. All right, so that is part 2. Honestly, looks pretty solid, and Shanks himself is a very desirable unit, no doubt. But now we can have a look at part 3. Now, part 3 is a little rough because, you know, Beckman and Lucky Roux, they are not Super Sugo-Fest exclusives, meaning that they are pullable on a lot of other banners looking forward into the future, and they're going to be on regular red tickets moving forward as well. So if you don't get them now, it's not the end of the world because they are going to be relatively accessible in the future. But as for the characters available on part 3, you got some very good characters here. I mean, Yamato Ace, Strength Kaido, Luffy Crew, Final Tap Law. Like, even just these 3 are some of the top 5 best legends in the game, and they are all available on the same banner. That is phenomenal. Then you got Law, who's really good. I love Hiyori, she's fantastic. Who's Who is okay. Lin is underwhelming. Frankie's pretty good, a big fan of him. Cat Vipe is very good. And then we get towards, like, kind of mid units. Frankie, with a level limit break, might actually be like, super duper busted. Ace level limit break is good. Croc is good. Borsalino's okay. Buggy, I guess, you know, if you need to do the Grand Voyage, here's Dupsy here. Man, look, it's really annoying because part 2, like, overall, on average, I think has a better list of characters. But then you look at part 3 and you've got, like, 3 of the top 5 best legends in the game, so it's hard to really ignore that. But I think that if you're going on averages between both pools of characters, part 2 is easily better. You've got access to some more top end units that see more play compared to, you know, some of the units here. But I mean, having Hiyori is going to be invaluable moving forward, going to be huge to have that character moving forward. But at least in one aspect, it's good that, you know, Beckman and Lucky Roux are debuting with other, like, okay shooters. You know, you've obviously got Ace and Yamato, which one component of them are shooters. You've got Frankie, who's also shooter related. You've obviously got the Nami Robin. You've got Magellan, who's also shooter related. Frankie's a shooter. Capone is a shooter. You got Buggy, who's a shooter. Hodie's also a shooter. Ace is a shooter. So I guess it makes sense to have these characters that are kind of low tier because shooters are probably the worst class in the game, along with Beckman and Lucky Roux. So looking at this banner right now, yeah, it looks pretty bad compared to part 2, but I think that if shooters end up being like one of the best classes in the game with more updates in the future, then, you know, looking back on this part would say like, holy crap, this part is really, really good. But as for right now, I think part 2 is easily the best part, despite the fact that you've got Ace Yamato, Kaido, and also Luffy crew, who are just so good. But even at the super limited step, which remember is the 10th and the 20th multi of part 3, you get access to this, so that's really good. While I said that Who's Who and Linlin is not ideal, the other 6 are just godly, so, you know, it's hard to say it's a bad part when you've got a super limited step like that. Like, that's just phenomenal. And then, of course, in terms of the rare recruits that are available, you got the brand new 3 rare recruits. Ulti's kind of mid, Beppo's pretty good, Robin's great, Kawamatsu's very nice, Hody is usable, Bonnie kind of average, Black Maria's okay, Sengoku's good, Kuzan is actually very good, but yeah, you got a couple of bad ones, but overall, the rare recruits that are boosted, actually pretty good. You know, nothing really too bad about this at all. So in terms of the Sugo-Fest as a whole, you know, the fact that it is an exact mirror of the Uta Sugo-Fest and is coming a month later, it makes it a bit tough for a lot of people to invest their rainbow gems, especially when we can pretty much consider that Uta is just better than Shanks and Beckman and Lucky Roux. As of this point in time, I believe that Uta is a better unit than these two, but I can completely understand the fact that people don't want to invest their gems here. I completely get it, but either way, I will definitely be doing pulls, so if you guys are interested in that, definitely come over to the live stream, which will go live when the Sugo-Fest goes live at 1900 PST time. But with all that being said, that is going to wrap it up for me. I ultimately think that part 2 is the best part. If you want to try your luck, then part 1, go for your life. And part 3 has some great top-end talent, but it kind of wanes off very quickly. But I think on average, part 2 is probably where you want to go. That's going to wrap it up for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all of the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.